Rolling as we speak. I am here with a legend, one of my personal favorites of all time, Dutch Mantell. An honor to have you here in AIW, and I have a million things to ask you, and again, I don't want to take up so much of your time, but the very first thing I got to ask you about, the boss would kill me if I didn't.
Yeah.
Where he knows you're from, is Desperado, the Desperados in WCW. You, Deadeye Dick, and Black Bart, looking for Stan Hansen.
Yes.
What's going on with that? Everyone wants to know.
So I can stop this at any time?
Anytime you want, sir.
No, let's stop it. No, the Desperados, nobody ever understood it. We were looking for Stan Hansen. Nobody ever explained why we were looking for him. And the whole thing ended up with Stan Hansen finally, I think he said he didn't want to have nothing to do with it and quit and left. And so that left us without somebody to look for. So that was the shelf life of the Desperados. It lasted about, I guess, 6 weeks maybe.
Right.
Not much longer, and then all of a sudden it disappeared.
And again,
it was one of those things that appeared, it had a little potential, and then all of a sudden it imploded upon itself.
But really where you had your potential was in so many other places. You were so wasted there. We're talking Memphis. We're talking Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. We're talking all these different places. You know, we got a chance to talk a little bit before. You said Puerto Rico, Memphis were some of your favorite places. If there's one thing from those territories when you were there that you could show to any fan and say, this is my wrestling, this is what I did, this is the lasting impression that I want to leave on the world of professional wrestling, what would it be?
Well, if you go, me and Lawler, we really had some good matches in Memphis, and it's on YouTube. But the Puerto Rico thing, if you really want to look at emotion and a crowd, there are a lot of clips in Puerto Rico from 2001, 2002, and 2003, and these weren't arena shows. These were baseball stadium shows. And we would run a baseball stadium. Well, that was our version of a pay-per-view. We didn't have pay-per-view. Excuse me. So we'd run a big stadium, and the stadium would seat 14,000, 16,000, and we'd sell it out. And see, sellouts were common then. You know, sellouts are usually rarities, but in Puerto Rico, when I booked it, it was common to sell out a baseball stadium. The ratings, when I got there, I was working for one company, which is WCW, which Carlos Colon owns, and I was working for him. And I'm not going to really tell this whole story, but the ratings were really, really good, and I asked for more money, and he denied me. But they had another company in town, and while Carlos was doing like a 10 or 12 rating, they were doing a 2.6, but they wanted me to come work for them. So when he denied my pay raise, which I thought was unfair, I just went to talk to them. Walked in, gave them the same terms I had given Carlos 2 days earlier, and they accepted it on the spot. So then I went home, and then I came back and started working for the other company. And then when I started working with them, Carlos's ratings were still like in the 10 or 12 area. They started dropping. I started working with the other company. They come up, and it's going like this and getting closer and closer. See, when they was doing a 2.4 rating, I told them, I said, guys, a Viagra commercial will do a 2.6. And finally, in about 3 months, we was about neck and neck with both about 8. And I did a big show. I popped over, and for the next 3 years, I beat him.
That's unbelievable. That's like
been a lot cheaper for Carlos to give me the money.
That's like the parallels to what a lot of our American fans would know, like the Monday Night Wars, you know, the WWF and WCW stuff, you know?
Well, I don't know why I did so good there, but I didn't overthink it. And WWE says what's best for business. I did the same thing there. What was best for business? Because I wanted those people up and having a good time. I had a lot of kids there. Places would be packed. See, I would go to a show on Saturday night. It would seat maybe 4,500 people in the building. They'd be 500-600 people lined up at 5:30 to get in. So when I saw that, I knew I was going to have a sellout.
That's awesome.
And I wouldn't really think about the show that much. I wouldn't really pre-plan it that much. I just have a certain couple things I wanted to get in. And the rest of it, I just winged it. I would go in there about 7 o'clock when the people started coming in, and I'd get me 2 margaritas and 2 beers. Then I'd slam the margaritas down and be nursing the beers. Then I'd go to work and I'd book the show.
Now, you say you kind of just went in there with like an idea, a framework, but nothing really planned out. Was there anything in your days, whether it be with Carlos or whether it be with IWA, where you had an idea, you felt it was going to work, and it just something that didn't click? Or was it just everything was just always on point?
No, it was mostly on point.
Yeah.
Because when I did an angle there, I tested it a couple times,
Okay.
made sure it would work. I didn't throw something out there that was just out of the clear blue.
Right, so that's why I asked.
I didn't leave it to chance, because there was a method to this madness, and I more or less put the baby faces over most of the time. Then those dirty and the dastardly heels would do something, and the people when the show was over on Saturday night on TV nights, the people would not get up and rush out. They would sit there because I trained them. Wait a minute, wait for it. Wait for it. Here comes the trailer for next week. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to have. You remember when the Challenger blew up over Texas?
I do.
We worked this hot angle, and we'd been working on it for 6-7 months. It was one guy that worked for Carlos. He'd come over. I put him under the mask, and everybody was talking about it. And he said if he pulls the mask off, Carlos is going to sue him. We said if he pulls the mask off, we're going to sue you. So that's the story we were telling.
Right.
He was going to buy his way out. And we went there that night. We knew it'd sell out. But that day on TV, we didn't have a second of TV. Not 1 second. Because the Challenger explosion took up all the airtime. So one of the guys called me and said, we need to cancel tonight. I said, bullshit, we're not canceling. He said, well, it's not going to be good. I said, blip. I said, brother, please. It's going to be good. We went over there, turned 2,000 people away because we had built it.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it. It was a story leading up to it. So you didn't have TV that day. They understood that. But they said, well, I'm not missing this. And it's one of the hottest things I ever did there. So the guy went in there and he tried to pull the mask off. No. And he finally, they tore his check up, threw it in his face. Then he had a big fight. I remember the last thing he did when he knocked, Savio Vega was a heel.
Right.
And he knocked his manager down. And I stole a line from Elephant Man.
Okay.
He said, I'm not a slave, I'm not an animal, I'm a human being, my name is. It was Ray Gonzalez. Pull the mask off, Ray Gonzalez. The roar was deafening. And that was, I worked on that for like 6 months.
That's awesome. And that was.
And when I did an angle, I didn't just forget the angle. And, you know, I do an angle here and get away from it. But people they don't forget. So I didn't bring the guy up here and team him up all of a sudden like everything's forgotten.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to happen in real life. It's just not going to happen. You know, like Ted Cruz didn't team back up with Donald Trump, did he?
Well, you mentioned Donald Trump, and again.
Oh yeah, let me tell you.
There
what
you go.
Donald did. At WrestleMania 29, I went out and I did the promo, and I was doing this and this We the People, and he was there. You know, please rise, put your hand on your heart, We the People. So he was in the box. So later on, I went back sitting in the viewing area, and he walked up to me. He walked in. I saw him walk in with his 2 sons and Ivanka, his daughter. Beautiful girl. And then he saw me and he came over. And he put his hand out like this. And he said, fantastic. I loved your interview. And then he walked away. But what he did, he watched it, and he basically took We the People and is using it today. And he just stole the gimmick. Gimmick infringement. Big case of it.
And he was just in Cleveland just the other day.
Yeah, and did you hear my name mentioned? No.
Not at all.
He should have let me do the Ted Cruz. I would have endorsed him. I'm mad at him too, and I still endorse him.
Well, Dutch, again, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you.
And thank you again for being part of this for AIW today.
What is your name?
My name's Leonard.
Is that your real name?
Yes, it is.
Or is that your work name?